We're recording? Hey everybody, Stuff I Heard podcast. I'm your host, Josh Peak. Here we go. And today happens to be February the 22nd of 2020. No, that's wrong. Why did I say that? I totally got this wrong. Today's the 26th. Ooh. Wow. This is a leap year. We've got 29 days this year. I wonder if I'm going to do a leap year podcast. It might be something kind of clever to do. I don't know. What do you guys think? If you're tuning in for the first time right now, you're going, who is this idiot? Why is he talking about the date? What's going on, man? I don't understand. Why is he? If I'm watching him on YouTube, why is he wearing a Star Wars stormtrooper pew 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 shirt? I mean, why? What's up with this guy? Why is he so weird? Why? What's going on? I don't understand. This is dumb. You're right. This is dumb. You have reached the Stuff I Heard podcast, and let's talk about some stuff I heard, shall we? Looking around through different people's Instagrams and social medias and Twitters and stuff like that, I found out that a guy that I went to high school with, a fellow named Victor Webster, is now part owner of a vodka company. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but he is. Right now they're working on the website, but it's out of Charleston. It's locally made in Charleston, South Carolina, and it's called Sweetgrass Vodka. The website, when it gets up and running, is going to be sweetgrassvodka.com. Apparently, that's the story. I've tried looking it up online and I can't get it to load, so I don't exactly know what's going on. I reached out to him and he's like, "Yeah, we got people working on it and it's going to be up." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, man, if you'd like to be on the podcast and like promote your brand and talk about the company, how it came about, and all that stuff, I mean, I'm down." He's like, "Cool, we'll probably do that." So look forward to that. That'd be fun. If you're in the area or if you're perusing your local liquor store and you happen to see Sweetgrass Vodka, you can go, "Hey, I know that guy. I've heard of that guy." See, this is community. This is what we're doing. We're sharing each other's information. We're promoting the positive. Despite what politics is telling us, we're promoting the positive. And we're doing what's right within our community. We're supporting one another. So there you go. Don't let politicians tell you that the world's corrupt and everything's awful. I mean, it might be, but still, we can grassroots do our part to make it better, right? So let's do that. So I started off the week listening to a podcast, Good For You. It's Whitney Cummins is the host, and she had a guest on Kate Upton. Now, I had to Google Kate Upton because I'm not up to, I'm not on current events. I don't know who everybody is. I have to ask my wife, "Who is this girl?" And she was like, "She was the one in the movie." And then I get confused about which movie and which girl. And I'm like, okay. So I Googled her and I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up there, Kate Upton?" About that. She and Whitney apparently are really good friends. They're both into horses, of course. But Kate's got this real big body positive message that she's all about. And she's got like a fitness company that she's promoting that's all for body positivity. And listen, that's important. Like, I didn't have daughters, I had sons. And with sons, I guess it's a little different in the fact that, yes, looks are a thing nowadays, and yes, they always have been, but Instagram is sort of set up to sabotage a lot of women, to make them feel awful about themselves. Even if they're gorgeous, they look at, what they could be with Photoshop and with, plastic surgery and 1,000 hours of gym time and genetics, and they go, "Wow, I'm just not as pretty as her." And guys aren't making it any better when all they do is just flood their likes and join on and follow them and reach out to them like, "Hey girl, my girl's not as pretty as you," and all that creepy stuff. Listen, we can all do our part. We can all make the world a better place. What's wrong with just saying, "Hey, you're putting in the work, good for you," and then move on? Or what's wrong with, if you're a girl and you're looking at this, you go, "Oh, good for her. Like she did it. She worked out. She got the genetics, whatever." We're missing the key component that lets us look at ourselves and just be happy with who we are. And I think that's something that maybe comes with age, but not with everybody. Not everybody has that. Not everybody can earn that. And I think it has to do with your own self-worth, whatever you find self-worth in. It might be that you're funny, it might be that you're creative, it might be that you're a leader, it might be that you're super intelligent, it might be whatever. Everybody needs something that they can look at and go, wow, I'm really good at that. And they can hang their hat on it. And no matter what anybody says about anything else in their life, they can go back and they can say, yeah, you're right. I'm not fast. Yeah, I'm not skinny. Yeah, I don't look the best. I've got the face of a troll. But I've got this and this and this. So I don't care. Whatever. This is who I am. This defines me. This other thing defines me. And I think that's sort of a struggle for kids nowadays, is finding the thing that defines you. I remember being a young man and looking at my own life and going, I really need to do something well. I need to learn to do something well. I need to figure life out in some way. Because at a certain age, you feel the pressure of looking at your own life in comparison to others, and you go, wow, I've just been an idiot up to now. And I mean, the older you get, the more you feel like that, because even as you figure things out, you go, wow, but so many other people seem to have their crap together. I mean, look at all these people accomplishing all this stuff, and wow, they're younger than I am, and they can do this, and they can do that, and they've done this, and they've done that. And it's like, well, okay, but what's stopping you? What is the thing stopping you? That's the thing. We all have to eventually look in our own mirror. It doesn't have to be a physical mirror, but a mirror of our own life, and take stock and go, what don't I like, and what do I want to change? That's sort of the theme of a lot of this, is we all have the ability to change. We all have the ability to get out of our comfort zone, or to create a comfort zone out of the things that make us uncomfortable. All it takes is your effort and your time. So what are you waiting on? This is a good podcast between friends, the Good For You podcast with her and Kate Upton. There's a lot in there about how she became popular because she was a very attractive young lady, large breasts, and swimsuit model and all this stuff. And yet, because she was so pretty, a lot of the media really attacked her and wanted to put her down and said, oh, even this plus size model can make it. And she was like, what? Plus, talk about having body image issues. If you're on the cover of a magazine and people are trying to break you down saying that you're too fat, you just imagine what that does. I mean, God, I can't imagine. It's crazy. It's crazy. You're one of the most beautiful people on the planet at the prime of your life, and people are still like, yeah, but she's fat. Look at her. Really? Really? It's disappointing. But anyway, I'm glad that this woman, grew up. She became an adult. She's fine with herself. She's okay with everything. She has kids. She has a family. She has a business. And she's promoting body positivity. Why not? Let's do that. Let's get behind that. That's something I can get behind. I mean, geez. Stand up for who you are and say, listen, everybody's different. It's okay. It's all right. We're not all built the same. We can't all invest hours and hours in the gym. None of us really want to. I mean, there are some people out there. We know those people. We judge those people. Well, I do. Anyway, I'm kidding. All of this is jokes, people. Don't take it personal. So anyway, that was interesting. I enjoyed that. Now, let's roll into Saturday, okay? Because Saturday, there were fights on TV. Now, not everybody's TV. Of course, this is pay-per-view. And I don't afford pay-per-view. I'm very broke. But there is the technology out there to possibly watch shows that you may not have paid for. And there is a possibility that a buddy of mine, Joshua Treadaway, may have helped me out big time by giving me some access to such shows so that I could, like the sheep that are out there, cheer on my favorite Colosseum Roman gladiator fighter in a cage, let's just say. Yeah. So, UFC Fight Night 165, I think. Is that what it was? 168 was in Auckland, New Zealand. And the big fight of the night was Dan Hooker and Paul Felder. Dan Hooker's from New Zealand. Big, tall, lanky dude. Just ginormous shoulders and arms. Very young and can take a punch. Dude, this Paul Felder guy just looks like a tank. And Felder punched Hooker in the face so many times. And Dan could take a punch. I mean, he was dominant. I mean, both guys really came at each other, and it really came down to the decision. I mean, at the very end, I was sort of on the fence of it, and I was like, I don't know who's going to win this. These guys are ranked number 6 and 7 in their division, and this was a big deal. It was an exciting fight. It was a bunch of exciting fights that night. There was, I don't remember the girl's name. There was a female fight earlier, just before this one, where the girl got her eye socket broke. She's on Twitter and Instagram and stuff after the fight, going, "This is the worst I've ever been hurt," and like there's X-rays of her eye socket being busted down here and bone being gone. I was like, "Jeez, what kind of power do you have to get behind a punch or a kick or something to break someone's eye socket?" God, it's horrible, but it's also exciting. We live in gladiator times. We cheer on football whenever the guy gets clobbered and knocked out. I mean, we all cringe. We all go, "Good, is he okay?" But when he does it and it's our team that does the clobbering, we're like, "Yeah, get him!" You know, I mean, right? Aren't we? We're all guilty of it. We watch boxing. Ooh, so boxing came on afterwards. Since it was in New Zealand, like the show was off early. Oh, and the cool part about it was I finally figured out how to do the Joe Rogan fight companion thing. If you guys don't know, Joe Rogan does this fight companion where he gets some of his friends together. Some of them are ex-MMA guys, and some of them are trainers and stuff like that. Some of them are comedians. And they get together and they watch the fight together. Now, when you're watching it on YouTube, it's live. And they have a counter that counts down. And you can sync your TV up by hitting pause and hitting play. And you can sync your TV up to the podcast. And you can just turn your volume down on your TV because the dudes calling it on the TV aren't that good. But hearing Joe call it and his buddies who know the fight and know who the people are and what the schemes are and how they're going to get out of a situation, they can sort of break down the fight as you're watching it. They're making jokes, they're being silly with each other, they're having a good time, and they're also going, "Oh, watch out, he's got to get that leg, he's going to get that leg." And then it gets more exciting when you listen to people who know what they're watching talk about it. It's exciting. It was exciting. I enjoyed it. I made watching the fight that much more fun. I actually turned the fight on my phone, and I used my little pop socket thing on the back to kind of prop it up on the table, and I had Joe and his buddies doing commentary. He was in there with Brandon Schaub, which I've talked about before, being a top 10 MMA guy, and then he got into comedy. Brian Callen, and comedian, actor, extravaganza, and Eddie Bravo. Eddie Bravo is a trainer, jiu-jitsu, martial arts, all this stuff. He runs 10th Planet Gym. He trains a lot of top MMA guys. He's one of the only people ever to be a Gracie in competition. The Gracies invented jiu-jitsu, but Eddie Bravo's got a very creative mind and figured out how to defeat them. He's a very respected guy in MMA and in jiu-jitsu and all that stuff. So anyway, these guys are very interesting together, a lot of fun together. They're all busting balls. It's a lot of fun. It made watching the fight that much more fun. And thank you to my wife for putting up with me watching these, because I know she could care less. But, you know, we have the invention of headphones and whatnot, and she sat beside me with her little phone watching a show with her headphones on, giggling. She's watching a really good show, by the way. Good Girls is on Netflix. I actually watched an episode with her, and it's really good. I feel kind of guilty for not watching it. I saw it advertised, and I knew a lot of the ladies that were advertised on it, but I didn't watch it, and now I don't know, I feel like I got to play catch up. Like she's watching a lot of shows now that she's getting interested in, and she's into some good shows, and I'm like, dang, I missed the boat on that one, and I missed the boat on that one, and anyway, go check out Good Girls on Netflix. It's fun. It's a neat show. So anyway, so I watched the fight. I watched the MMA fight, and then that went off at like 10:30, and I was like, okay, I know Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder are supposed to fight later on, but I gotta find it. So I used my secret, thank you Joshua Treadaway, device, and found the fight, and got to see their very elaborate coming into the ring. Very, very theatrical, very labored, I guess you'd say. And then when they got in the ring, like, these dudes are giant people. This Deontay Wilder, I think he's 6'7". He came into the fight at like 231 pounds. And Tyson Fury is 6'9", 273 pounds. Big, 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 big big giant dudes. And Tyson Fury can straight out box, dude. He's got some quick head movements. He's got some quick jabs. His whole body movement, the way he boxed, was impressive. I was like, this is a big guy, and he's dangerous. And when he hits a wallop. And I mean to tell you, in that fight, he walloped Wilder. I mean, he beat that dude up. It was impressive. Apparently, these guys fought before. This was like their rematch. When they fought before, Wilder knocked Fury down twice in the match. And both times Fury got back up. And then after the second time, Fury was like, okay, we're going to fight. All right. And then he just flipped a switch. And from that moment to the end of the fight, he dominated the fight so much that when it came down to decision, they called it a draw. Now, when you get knocked down, that's a lot of points towards the other fighter. In order for you to win after that, that meant that you had to be dominant. And I didn't watch the fight the first time. I didn't know about it. I didn't have the secret, thank you, Joshua Treadaway, device to watch those fights. But now I have access. And man, let me tell you, that was an exciting fight. It went 7 rounds. Spoiler alert, if you don't know, Tyson Fury won. His team actually threw in the towel because Wilder was getting beat. I mean, it looked like he got his eardrum busted. A lot of people were commenting on that. And I heard later from a podcast, The Fighter and the Kid, they were breaking it down afterwards. And Brendan Schaub knows a lot about fighting. And he goes, I know what busted eardrums are. I know what they do. That wasn't that. He had blood coming out of his ear, yes. He's like, but he just got beat. He said every step of the fight, he said, in my opinion, Wilder doesn't know how to box. He's just a big dude. And Fury beat him. And he's not wrong. I mean, I don't know anything about boxing, but he just got beat. I mean, from the word go, Fury backed him down. Fury beat on him in the face, everywhere. The number of punches he threw was like 4 times the amount of punches. He landed like 38% of those punches. And they were significant punches. So, anyway, good for you, Tyson Fury. That was awesome to watch. Thank you for entertaining us. It was a gladiator sport, and you came out the top gladiator, dude. And then apparently, I'm looking around on social media after the fight, and it's reported apparently that he donated his winnings to charity. He won, I don't know how many millions of dollars in the fight, but he went through the airport system or whatever to go home, and he saw the homeless problem, and he was like, why aren't people helping out more? And he thought, he actually said, I was homeless once. I was on drugs. I was a drug addict, and I got help, and these people deserve help. And he donated a bunch of money. He said, I don't want this to go out to the news. It didn't go out to the news, but people still talk about it, and they republished the story. And I don't know if it's true. I haven't snoped it. You guys will probably snope this and write back and be like, it's all fake. That's fake news. Blah, blah, blah. But if it's true, holy crap, dude, that's really awesome. That's something that most people wouldn't think to do or wouldn't have the charity of heart to do. But if that's true, wow. Just wow. You got my support. I mean, even if it ain't true, just the story alone just... Plus, I watched you beat that dude up, man. It was incredible. So anyway, like I said, after the fight, I was like, well, that was really fun. And I happened to find a podcast, The Fighter and the Kid. Episode 535 just came out. It's After the Fight Companion. Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen talking about watching the fight and what it meant to them. And this is turning into quickly one of my favorite podcasts to listen to because these guys are hilarious with each other. I mean, they talk like me and my friends talk, and it's hilarious. Like, if we'd have taken different paths in life and been more of a success in some way, celebrity-wise, this would be me and my friends now, just busting balls and talking crap and just being silly, and this is it. So this is probably my 3rd favorite podcast right now. This is pretty entertaining. I didn't write down the other one. I gotta write down podcasts more often. These things I'm listening to, I'm trying to pass them along to you guys so you guys can check them out. Come on, man. Come on, man. Where is it? Did I talk about that? I gotta go back and consult my notes. guys. Hang on. Just hold on. Just hold on. Have I talked about it? I don't think I've talked about it. How could I have missed it? Okay. So, a few episodes back, I talked about a podcast called Timesuck with Dan Cummins. And I talked about the one he did about time travel. Okay, so, I gotta tell you guys, Dan Cummins is quickly becoming one of my favorite podcasts as well. My brother has mentioned in the past, hey, you need to check out this guy. It's pretty entertaining. And other people that I know have told me about it. And I'm like, yeah, no, I got a lot to listen to, and I just couldn't commit the time. But I wanted to hear more, and I did some research on their, podcasts that are out. And there was one that caught my eye immediately. I think the one I did a couple weeks ago was time travel, and it was very entertaining. And then I just looked at, all right, what are some of the recent ones? January 20th, he had one called Declassified Military Documents. And it's basically about conspiracy theories that are actually proven as true. And it is, as you're listening to it, your mouth's going to be open wide. You're going to be like, what? Oh my God. It's like one of those kind of deals. It's incredible. Dan Cummins is impressive. He does a lot of research. He rapid fire tells you everything that's on his head. He makes jokes along the way. And because he's talking about declassified materials, he says a lot of stuff in the beginning, and then towards the end, he's like, hey, if anybody's listening that matters, I didn't mean any of it. I'm a comedian. I don't know anything. Haha, you guys win. I love you guys. Kind of don't come after me. It's hilarious. Okay, so if you're looking for something new to listen to, Fighter and the Kid and Dan Cummins' Timesuck. That's two of the ones that I recommend checking out. So, excuse me. My buddy Greg also has a new podcast, new one out called 5 in 40. On it, he does several different subjects, 5 different subjects in 40 minutes. He does one on Friends. He talks about me, makes me feel special. He talks about the flu, which was interesting. Again, the flu part is more towards if you're more medically inclined, you're going to know exactly what he's talking about. And if you're not, you're going to be like, what? It's a little confusing, but I followed it a good bit because I talked to my mom a good bit about it, and she's a nurse practitioner, so I kind of, I'm semi-fluent in medical stuff, so I'm like that commercial where the guy's like, are you a doctor? No, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Oh, okay. I'm that level of expert. So, yeah. Then he did a government gridlock conversation, and then a random facts conversation morphed into 80s music, which was really fascinating. He even gives a suggestion on a popular song in the past where he changes the lyrics, and it's an earworm. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. You're going to be singing that from that point on. So check it out. Give him a shout out. Tell him you heard him here. Then I listened to an episode of Your Mom's House. It's a podcast that Tom Segura does with his wife, Christina Brzezinski. And it's hard for me to get into their podcast. I like Tom. I like Christina. I like it when they have Bert on because Bert's a friend of mine. Not really, but I'd like to think he's a friend of mine. I like to think that we could hang out. I like to think that if he were to bust in here, we'd have a few beers, grill out, do a podcast, whatever. That's not ever going to happen. But might as well throw that out there in the universe, right? I mean, I could go hang out in the man cave and hang out with Halston and high five Leanne and tell her thank you for helping me start this podcast using Anchor, and that's never going to happen. But it could. See, that's the thing. It could. We live in a society today where this conversation right here, one of you guys might know Bert and be like, hey man, I got this guy who wants to talk to you, and then it could happen. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there in the universe because you gotta like say it in order to make it happen. So, Bert, if you're listening, huge fan. I think we could be buddies. I promise I'll wear Star Wars shirts. It'll be fun. But anyway, What was I talking about? Oh, Tom, Tom and Christina. So your mom's house. The first part of it is just a back and forth between the two of them, which is, it can be interesting. It can also be boring. It just depends on what subject they're on. I had to fast forward this one because they got really deep into this guy called the Fed Smoker, who's a YouTube idiot. Guy was on meth. He died, obviously, of a drug overdose or a heart attack or whatever the situation is. I've talked about it in the past. Dr. Drew's done stuff on him because of them on his podcast, Dr. Drew After Dark. And the Fed Smoker is just this crazy, druggy guy that confronts security guards and police officers and very confrontational. And it's to the level of uncomfortableness that I want to punch him through my computer. And I just can't stand it. It makes me crazy. I have to fast forward it. So I fast forwarded the first part, just clipping on there that, that fast forward button. It's like 30 seconds. I just bleep, 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 and then they just keep talking more and more about him. And I'm like, I don't care. I can't stand to listen to this part. Fast forward, which I did that with Whitney's. Whitney does a lot of conversation with her engineer, which is, I guess, a friend of hers. And that one she does with Kate Upton, you have to go a good hour and 30 minutes before she ever starts the interview with Kate Upton. It's like a 2.5 hour podcast, but the first hour and a half is just her gabbing with this dude about random stuff. And they do ads in between. They're supposed to be seamless, but it's like, okay, get on with it, I like her more with other people than just hanging out with him. I know they don't care. They don't listen to this. Nobody listens to this. Just you guys. It'll be our secret. Don't tell them that. I'm a big Whitney fan. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll do a podcast with Whitney one day. You never know. You never know. She's way more forgiving than I am. That's not true. I'm very forgiving. I take it all back. I love you, Whitney. So the second half, back to the point, the second half of the Your Mom's House podcast is, my phone's ringing, I forgot to put it on mute. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. The second part of the podcast is an interview with Michael Rappaport. Michael Rappaport is a very large white man, Jewish white man from New York, who he's been in a lot of movies. A lot of people remember him from True Romance. He was Brad Pitt's roommate who Christian Slater picked up, and they were going to go sell coke that they stole from the mafia. It's a crazy story. But Michael Rappaport is also in a hit show right now on Netflix called Atypical, where he's the dad of a family that has an autistic son who has graduated high school and is now in college. And it's like the fourth season coming up, and it's really good. It's fantastic. It taught me a lot about autism. It taught me a lot about how families are just families, and how people with autism can function, and how sometimes the families are always there to pick up the pieces with each other, even when things are tough and they make terrible decisions. And he's good in it. I never thought he was a good actor until this show. This show, he's a good actor. This show, you forget you're watching a comedian, a stand-up guy. It's good. It's a good show. If you haven't seen Atypical on Netflix, I highly recommend it. This interview with the YMH crew is entertaining. He talks a lot about having colitis and having to go in the woods a lot. That he's on medication now and all this stuff. And he's funny. They talk a little bit about Kobe Bryant passing away, about some inappropriate things that Ari Shaffir apparently put on Instagram and Twitter and all this stuff, and how it didn't go well with a lot of people. And a lot of people are angry at Ari right now, and they should be. It's like Bert said, you shouldn't reward bad behavior. I mean, I've talked about that before. Ari was on the Something's Burning thing that they do, the cooking show, and Ari did something really shitty to Bert, and Bert looked at the camera and he goes, no, leave it in. Leave it in. Show the people. I'm not going to reward bad behavior. People need to know he's an asshole. And they're friends. But he's right. I mean, listen, I've been friends with assholes before. I'm still friends with assholes. I'm sure I'm the asshole to some people. Some people probably go, yeah, he's an asshole. Whatever. All I'm saying is, this is a good interview. They're fans of Michael Rappaport. You'll get something from it if you like him or them. Okay, so moving on. I did listen to the Tom Papa episode on Bert's podcast and on Joe Rogan's, and I watched the Netflix special. Was it Good For You? No, not Good For You. That's the podcast. Oh, You're Doing Great? Yeah. So Tom Papa, apparently every time he does a podcast, or as the story goes, he always bakes bread, sourdough bread, and brings bread in. And it's always fresh and hot and like homemade. So someone's talked Tom into making some YouTube videos. He actually has a YouTube channel now. It's Tom Papa. Just go on Tom Papa and you'll see him making bread. And he's got somebody behind the camera who's doing the editing and splicing together of the materials, which makes it really entertaining. But also, he's showing you how to make bread, how to make a starter kit for sourdough. And I watched it this morning. They're only like, maybe 10 minutes long each. There's like 4 or 5 of them. But it's pretty entertaining. I don't know that you can actually learn to make bread from it because he doesn't follow. If you watch it, it's not like he's filmed 2 hours worth and you can just follow it beat by beat, because he doesn't show the exact measurements on things, and he sort of talks about it but doesn't show you every step. So there's some parts missing. I mean, you're still going to have to do some research to figure out how to make sourdough bread correctly. But I think he's onto something. He's a pretty entertaining guy, and I've subscribed to his YouTube channel because I went and watched some more of his videos. And he's got stuff from his specials on there, and he's got like a Super Bowl ad that he said, or he titled failed Super Bowl ad or something like that, and you click on it, and it's him talking about his special and showing him going around to his daughters and going, hey, you guys want to watch my special? And like, Dad, get out of here, I'm busy. And at the end, he's just sitting on the couch. He's like, all right, so I guess I'll watch it by myself. He's just, I don't know. Something about him is just funny to me. I guess because I've been that dad before. You do a project and you want your family to get behind it, and they're like, yeah, whatever, old man. So anyway, go check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. And what else? Oh, excuse me. I'm getting over this eventually. If not, you can. If I die from this cough that just kept going forever, you guys can be like, see, I told you, he's been sick this whole time. I know I'm not running a fever. It's just like anyway. On Disney Plus, I've been talking about watching Star Wars Rebels. So apparently there's 4 seasons and that's it. I finished the series. I finished the last episode. I finished the last season, and it was great. 4 seasons. Did I say 4 episodes? 4 seasons. Seasons. Like 20 something episodes per season. 4 seasons. And this is one of the best Star Wars things I've ever seen. This is as good as the movies. The first season wasn't that great. It was, you could tell they were trying to figure out what they were going to do, how they were going to do it, how they were going to portray the characters. And you're supposed to, I guess, get into the fact that the main character is a kid and he doesn't realize he has the Force yet, and he doesn't realize he's going to be a Jedi one day. But, spoiler alert, he does. And the ending is incredible. Now, I reached out and I talked about it last episode. My brother actually was the one that sent me a text message, and he goes, oh, by the way, this happened like 5 years before this thing. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's supposed to be 5 years before A New Hope. So after I watched that, I was so happy with the show and sad that it was over that I looked down the list and there's new episodes for Star Wars Clone Wars. Now, it's another animated show. Apparently it was on TV, and so, you have those commercial breaks that you're not having to sit through So when you're watching it on Disney Plus, each episode again is like, 24, 23 minutes, something like that. So I started watching season 1 last night, and I'll be honest, the first 2 episodes I was like, oh, this is painful to even start, because they don't get you engaged in characters like Star Wars Rebels. Rebels gets you really engaged in characters, and you really pull for these people, and you can't take your eyes off of them. Like, it's engaging. You start caring for them as you get further and further along, especially in the 3rd and 4th season. You start really caring about these people, and they're cartoons. But, you're like, oh, come on, man, you can do it. And then when they do it, you're like, yeah, So far, Star Wars Rebels is starting off, or Clone Wars is starting off slow. The animated series is starting off slow. I did watch a really good episode with Yoda. There's some cool stuff that's happening right now with Anakin. This is supposed to be with him as a Jedi Master, but not quite Darth Vader yet. He hasn't turned to the dark side completely yet. But you see images of the Emperor and of Palpatine, because the Emperor wears the hood, Palpatine doesn't. So last night I watched an episode with Princess Amidala, which is Padme. Spoiler alert, Luke's mama and daddy. But anyway, it's good so far. Not great, but I'm going to stick with it, and I'll give you guys updates as we go. There's other stuff that I want to watch. There's a new show on Netflix I want to watch, so prepare to hear more about that. And I'm gonna say that's it. I'm gonna talk less now. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna land the plane, as they say. Thank you to everybody who's listening. Thank you to everybody who's being a part of this. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you for the people who wrote back and told me about your approval of the sound quality or the video quality of using my iPad for YouTube content. I was really curious how this was going to go, so thank you. Matter of fact, you know what I'll do? I'll do something really meta right now. I'll take a photo of me doing the podcast on the thing right now. Right now. Boom. I just did it. And I'll post that on Instagram and all the other places so you guys can see what it looks like as a setup. But I got to tell you, I'm digging it. I think it looks fine. I sold another camera. I'm 2 cameras down. I got 2 to go. I've still got it in the works to probably buy the big camera. If you follow me at all, you know what I'm talking about. It's the Sony A6600. It's an expensive camera, but I've got cameras to sell still. I got 2 cameras here that can be gone. So if you're interested in buying the Canon Rebel EOS T7i, it's a very fancy camera. It's got the big lens, the 18 by 135 or 155 millimeter lens, and a camcorder that's waterproof. I've done videos with both. I've done podcasts with both. So you know, whatever. But also, if you live far away, I'm not going to email it, or I'm not going to put it in the mail. This is not. I'm not Amazon. I'm not eBay. If I wanted to sell it on eBay, I would have sold it on eBay. I want to do this with somebody local, somebody who could use it. These are really good cameras. So if you're local and you want to work out a deal, let me know. But that's it. Thank you for being a part of this. Please support all these other podcasts and YouTube people that I've talked about in the past. Give a shout out to Bert and tell him, hey, I heard about you on Josh's Stuff I Heard podcast. Go see him on tour. The Birdie Boy World. Spit it out, Josh. The Birdie Boy World Tour. I'm going to be seeing him in Charlotte on May 17th. Looking forward to that. Joe Rogan just put out his new tour. I think he's calling it the Clown something about the clown. Anyway, the Clown Show or something like that. I don't know. He's going to be in Charlotte on June 27th, but I'm not going to be able to make that because I'm going to be seeing the Black Crowes in Atlanta. So, yeah, a little conflict of shows there. But go check out the schedule. Find a comedian you want to see. Go support comedy. These guys are great, man. It's a fun time. Don't just watch comedy on TV. Go see an event. It's much better in person. These guys are putting on great shows. Dave Chappelle's still on tour. Bill Burr's on tour. Joey Diaz is on tour. All these guys are on tour. Go find some comedy. Support local comedy. Support big comedy. Support any comedy. This is the voice we need when you got CNN and Fox and all these idiots talking about politics and how it's all doomed, it's all gone. Go hear a comedian. They'll just cut through the bullshit and they'll tell you the humor in it. And you'll find the humor in it and you'll be like, oh, this is great. Thanks. This is kind of my reset. Appreciate it. So, again, thank you. And y'all take care and tune in for more. I'll be here twice a week. And always, cue the cow. Moo. Moo, baby.